That would not happen in space.
It
It would not fall. But yeah, so we've got all sorts of things that you can actually eat. The menu's pretty good and pretty diverse on the space station. And then, as you saw, pretty diverse for Orion.
Nice. Yeah, that's amazing. And again, here's a look at the crowd that's starting to continue to grow here as we get closer and closer to launch. We are now under an hour from the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. And so let's take some questions from social media. We haven't taken some of those for a while. You put that brownie away, Nicole, or I'm going to steal it. Nicole, we have another celebrity who submitted a question. Let's take a look.
Okay.
A quick question for the Artemis crew. What food from Earth would you bring with you into space? And why would it be lasagna? Because that's the greatest food.
Again, not really a question.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it's lasagna.
It's got to be lasagna. You know, there is lasagna on space station, and it wasn't too bad. Probably not my favorite food of all, but yeah, lasagna's not a bad option. It's a high-calorie meal. If you're trying to, carb load for a spacewalk or something, it's a great option.
Yeah, I remember Christina saying that her favorite food on the menu, and actually, she was saying that she was getting in trouble because people kept on saying, you can't eat mac and cheese every day, Christina.
We mentioned the mac and cheese and brisket earlier. Man, I would put those two on a tortilla. That would be great.
That sounds delicious, delicious. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sending in those questions. For everyone from a 5-year-old that we got a question from to all the way to Roy Woods Jr. there, a comedian. So thank you so much. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the Space Coast of Florida, where we are counting down to liftoff of Artemis 2. You see a beautiful aerial shot there of our rocket on the pad. For the first time in more than 50 years, we are sending humans to fly around the moon and back, and we're taking you all of you with us on this next chapter of human spaceflight. I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, and this is NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers. Great to have you here, Nicole.
Yes, this has been a beautiful day. Excited. We're continuing to march towards this launch.
Yeah, and if all goes as planned, this crew could travel farther from Earth than any other humans before them and see parts of the moon no one has ever laid eyes on. How exciting.
Yes. Exciting is an understatement, I think.
That's true.
We're going to see the far side of the moon for the first time by humans in a long time. It's important.
And as the crowd again builds behind us, more activity that you're seeing here at the Kennedy Space Center press site. We also have a ton of people gathering around the world to watch this history-making moment. So let's take a look at those watch parties now.
Oh.
That crowd has grown. We checked them probably like 30 minutes ago, and it was half that. But again, as we get closer and closer to launch, we are seeing more and more people gather together, wanting to experience this together and not just in a vacuum at home,
Yes, this is so exciting. Look at all of those people. Man.
And now here we are back in Seattle, the Museum of Flight. Again, people gathered there to show their kid. We see someone walking in the second row there. His first crewed launch to the moon. How exciting.
That is exciting.
Hello, everyone.
Woo.
Oh, that's so great. And now let's get you up to speed on what's happened so far. Again, we are now within an hour of the opening of our launch window. So what has been happening so far today? Well, a lot. After waking up and grabbing a bite to eat, our Artemis 2 crew suited up inside the historic crew quarters, a tradition that dates back decades. Teams helped them into their custom Orion crew survival suits, and just like other crews before them, they gathered around a table for a card game to pass the time, but to also burn off any lingering bad luck before they walked in the footsteps of every NASA astronaut launching from Kennedy Space Center since Apollo 7 in 1968. They walked outside the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building to greet a crowd of family, friends, supporters before getting into their Astrovan for their security-escorted ride out to historic Launch Complex 39B. They got a close-up look at the SLS rocket, then walked across the crew access arm and climbed one by one inside their Orion spacecraft. After that, teams conducted final checks with the crew before closing both hatches, the crew module hatch, as well as what you're seeing there, the launch abort system hatch. And now we are back live at the pad where the closeout crew is getting ready to leave the White Room. They are now tethered Nicole, because they are about to move some pieces that connect the Orion spacecraft to the White Room, correct?
Yes, there's kind of what I would call a shroud. You can see them working that there. So it is actually connected, so that way the gap between the crew access arm and the crew module, and well, I guess that's the LAS there, is covered. But they're about to remove that so that the crew access arm is not connected to the rocket in any way, so that it can retract here in the next few minutes.
And for how we're looking with the launch countdown milestones, let's go to Daryl Nail in the Launch Control Center.
All right, thank you very much, Megan. And as you can see there, the finishing touches, as you've been talking about, to the LAS, which brings me to that subject, because we currently are hearing the launch team is working an issue that was reported out with the LAS. At least there's an issue apparently with a battery on the LAS. The engineer who is in charge of the launch abort system, sits on console here, reported that a temperature for one of the two LAS batteries is out of range. And although it's not a constraint for launch right now, it would be when that temperature is checked inside of T-minus 6 minutes, which is inside of terminal count. So right now, the team is working some troubleshooting on this issue. Going to follow, of course, along closely with what they learn. But again, a battery temp for one of the two batteries on the LAS is out of spec, and the team is working to understand, first of all, whether or not this may be a sensor issue, or is there an issue with the battery itself. So again, looking into it, troubleshooting and researching as we speak. With regards to the weather, we did get some good news there. Launch Weather Officer Mark Berger reporting to the launch director that the weather chances have now improved for the window. We are up to 90% go, which is great news. Again, 90% go. That is up from the 80% that we started when we had the first weather forecast come out officially 3 days ago. And so that is great. And for anybody who's here in the launch area knows that is certainly viewable. They can see that by just looking up. So we're getting some good clearing as forecast. And then just a reminder for those people who are watching the launch from the nearby area that if you're watching on an internet-enabled device, just remember that there may be a little bit of a delay. Can't tell you how much of a delay, but since it's on an internet, sometimes this broadcast might be a little behind what you're actually seeing. So just keep that in mind as you are watching. Don't wait to the last second to run outside if you're inside your RV or your camper or your house. That's the latest here from the firing room. Of course, we'll keep track of that last battery issue. We'll send it back now to Megan and Nicole at the host desk.
Two of them there had to be tethered to the inside of the white room, because obviously now we have detached the White Room from the Orion spacecraft.
Yes, that view is quite something.
Yeah, spectacular. Yep. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I forgot. Nicole's scared of heights. An astronaut afraid of heights is actually not uncommon, as we've learned today. But yes, so obviously, again, things proceeding as we march closer to the opening of our 2-hour launch window at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, the closeout crew just finishing up those last couple of things they have to do before leaving the White Room and then leaving the pad, leaving only the 4 Artemis 2 crew members inside the spacecraft by themselves at the pad.
Yeah, and then we'll be curious to follow the battery issue on the LAS as well. I think sometimes it's just a sensor issue, sometimes it's a battery issue. So hopefully they figure that out quickly.
Mm-hmm. And so if we can take a shot of the crew inside the capsule, if one's available, why don't we talk a little bit more about each of them? So we have Artemis 2 Commander Reed Wiseman, Baltimore native, and he's actually, you see his feet in that shot there from inside Orion. He's been in space once before as flight engineer for Expedition 41 aboard the International Space Station from May through November 2014. During the 165-day mission, Reed and his crewmates completed more than 300 science experiments in areas like human physiology, medicine, physical science, earth science, as well as astrophysics. They actually set a milestone for station science by completing a record 82 research hours in a single week. He also served as chief of NASA's astronaut office from December 2020 to December 2022. His two daughters were out to wave goodbye to him as he made his way to the launch pad. And again, there's Reed's feet. Reed is the one sitting in the seat to the right, closest to our camera there. So looks like he's relaxed by the body language of his feet.
Yeah, I think they're kind of in a holding pattern, if you will, or a waiting period. So it makes sense that he's a little bit relaxed. He's also kind of just a relaxed person in general. He's wicked smart, but has a demeanor that keeps everybody calm. And so I think we're seeing that here today.
And so in this shot, Reed is the one sitting on the left, and to his right, Artemis II pilot Victor Glover. NASA selected the California native as an astronaut in 2013, and at the time he was actually serving as a legislative fellow in the United States Senate. His first trip to space, November 2020, pilot of NASA's SpaceX Crew 1 mission. That was the first operational mission of NASA's Commercial Crew program, which resumed launching American rockets from American soil to the International Space Station since the end of the shuttle program. Victor is a U.S. Navy captain and naval aviator who served as a test pilot, racking up more than 3,500 flight hours in more than 40 different aircraft. So again, he probably feels pretty at home in the pilot seat of Artemis II.
Yeah, I think he does.
He got to say goodbye to his wife and 4 kids. Again, those were the family that he had here at Kennedy Space Center before the 4 of them drove out to the pad.
Yeah, and you can see there, we talked about Victor's energy earlier, and you can see him working through, pushing some buttons on the displays. Looked like he was pulling up a procedure, so he's following along and ready to go, looks like.
And then mission specialist Christina Cook, sitting on the upper left-hand corner of the screen there, native of Grand Rapids, Michigan, was selected to the Astronaut Corps in 2013, same class as Victor, served as flight engineer on the International Space Station from March 2019 to February 2020. During that time, she set a record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman with a total of 328 consecutive days in space. How cool. She also participated in the first ever all-female spacewalk. And before becoming an astronaut, Christina helped build space science instruments and led scientific fieldwork in some of the most remote environments on the planet. Her hobbies include surfing, rock climbing,
and
community
CDR,
service, yoga, and photography.
Go ahead, NCD. Those couple of suppressed overvolt messages, we're going to go ahead and clear those off your screen.
We see them and we copy.
All right.
NASA test director.
We're still working here, trying to get through everything. So we're getting close, and then trying to talk that other issue that we just picked up a little bit ago. But I think work-wise, we're doing really well.
Sounds good, NTD. We're doing great on board.
Glad to hear it.
NASA test director giving an update to the crew. Some messages flashed on their displays. Just wanted to say that they didn't have to worry about that. We're going to clear that. And that also just reassuring the crew, again, that they are tracking and working the issue with the launch abort system battery.
Yeah.
All right. And then first-time flyer, Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen will fly to the moon as mission specialist on the Artemis II mission. The London, Ontario native selected as an astronaut in 2009. After that, he worked as Capcom at NASA's Mission Control Center in Houston. Capcom stands for Capsule Communicator and is the sole direct voice communicating with astronauts while in space. Jeremy also participated in training exercises, really cool ones like living on the ocean floor off the coast of Florida to simulate deep space exploration for a week. In 2017, he became the first Canadian to lead a NASA astronaut class. He also enjoys getting out on a sailboat, rock climbing, and mountain biking. He has a wife and 3 children. And he's the one that you see bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I know, I'm trying to see what he's doing there. Christina's looking too. And so there is your Artemis 2 crew inside the Orion spacecraft. And this is actually the 7th time NASA astronauts will launch on a new NASA spacecraft designed for crew. And if you're wondering about the first 6 crewed test flights, here they are.
All systems are go.
Gemini 3, Gus Grissom, John Young, March 23, 1965. Apollo 7, Wally Schirra, Don Isley, Walt Cunningham, October 11th, 1968. Space Transportation System, or STS-1, John Young, Robert Crippen, April 12th, 1981. Then NASA's SpaceX Demo 2, Doug Hurley, Bob Behnken, May 30th, 2020, followed by NASA's Boeing crew flight tests. Butch Wilmore, Sonny Williams, June 5th, 2024. And now, Artemis 2 with Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. It is really surprising, honestly, to hear that through all these decades, through all these launches we've had, this is only our 7th new vehicle that we're testing for crew.
Yeah, you know, we have so many different missions that we think about and we talk about, but really 7 vehicles that we've tested and that we're flying. You know, I like to think of spaceflight really as a permanent test, right? We have, you know, hundreds of missions or so. You know, an airplane that gets tested and then flown has thousands of data points. And so really spaceflight is always going to be in the test field. And I think it's important to remember that, especially as we put humans on rockets that we never have before, or for the 7th time we start a new vehicle and a new mission.
Just getting word now that White Room closeouts are complete. And so the closeout crew is preparing to leave the pad.
It's exciting stuff. We are making good time, and the closeout crew is doing really well.
41 minutes, 43 seconds and counting until the opening of our window. And Artemis 2 is a 10-day mission that will send the 4-person crew on a journey around the moon and back to Earth. It will be a critical step towards future lunar and Mars missions.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars. We need to go explore the moon. There's vast regions of unexplored areas with the coldest, darkest places in our solar system. This is a test mission, and when we get off the planet, we might come right back home. We might spend 3 or 4 days around Earth. We might go to the moon. That's where we want to go, but it is a test mission, and we are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system in the Orion spacecraft.
But another reason we're going back to the moon is to fulfill NASA's mission, which is to explore the unknown in air and space, to innovate for the benefit of humanity, and to inspire the world through discovery. And when we succeed and when we accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, that inspiration not only can set up new things to happen, but it also is a reminder in tough times that we're capable of doing great things when we work together.
The thing I love about the moon is that it's not just a beacon for exploration and this platform of possibilities for incredible missions like this, but it has benefits. That's actually why we're racing towards it. Those benefits are really wide in nature. You have everything from innovation, technology development, not only for future missions going deeper into the solar system, but technologies that come back to Earth. You have inspiration, a whole generation of people starting this pipeline of STEM workers and manufacturers and operators that are excited to see what you can do when you work hard and you come together as a team.
When I think about the four of us flying around the far side of the moon, seeing that Earth rise, taking images and video and sending them back to you, the feeling that I have inside is hope. We know that Artemis 2 is not the solution for humanity on planet Earth, but it is a contribution in the positive column. We hope that just for a moment that people will pause and say, wow, it's extraordinary when you look back upon the Earth with over 8 billion people, and you see this concrete example of what humanity can do, this extraordinary thing when we set big goals
And CDR entity
to achieve them.
And so Mission Control Houston will control the flight of Orion after a liftoff here at Kennedy Space Center. Here's Gary Jordan, who's embedded with that team. Gary, you might have to pause because we did just hear a call out to the commander
Copy all, Jeff.
in Orion.
Will do, Megan. I think that was Commander Reed Wiseman responding to prepare for some of the next steps. We are now holding at the T-minus 10-minute hold. Expected a 30-minute hold. So we are well on the countdown. We are well on the timeline to meet this L-minus time and launch towards the beginning of the window, but continuing to track progress along the way. Again, I'm here with the Artemis 2 flight control teams in Mission Control Houston. The team in the room behind me has been monitoring the countdown and verifying their own mission-specific launch criteria of the Space Launch System, the Orion spacecraft integrity, and its crew. During the final poll before launch, if all looks good from each of the flight controllers in this room, Flight Director Judd Freeling will report a go for launch from Houston Flight. Upon liftoff, teams here take control of the mission and communicate with the crew while they fly on the Space Launch System. This phase of flight is highly dynamic, and each console position has a dedicated and important role of looking after critical systems. You'll hear calls from Capcom and NASA astronaut Stan Love in this room to the Artemis 2 crew as milestones are reached during the more than 8 minutes of powered flight on the core stage. Liftoff and ascent are just the beginning. This room will be staffed around the clock over the next 10 days to oversee every moment of the mission through splashdown. Here from the Johnson Space Center, we'll be streaming the mission live 24/7 so anyone can follow the crew's journey, take peeks inside the spacecraft, and share the experience of a lunar flyby with astronauts looking down at the moon's surface. Teams here have been rehearsing tirelessly in simulations to throw every conceivable and inconceivable scenario their way. We are ready and eager to begin the Artemis 2 mission. Still milestones to come as we continue the countdown, but we'll be right back with you during the ascent phase of today's flight. With that, Megan, I will send it back over to you at the Space Coast.
Thanks so much, Gary. Under 37 minutes until the opening of our 2-hour launch window, 6:24 p.m. Eastern. I've never been more excited for a time. But why don't we send it back over to Megan Carter with the Moon Board to learn more about what happens after ascent.
Absolutely. I am definitely also getting excited. Things feel like they're starting to pick up a little pace here. A lot is about to happen within the first 10 minutes of launch, but what happens after those first 10 minutes? Let me take you over here to my mission map so we can kind of jump ahead and let me explain a few things. So, our main engine cutoff is going to stand for MECO, and that is essentially where the rocket's job is done, and it is then going to turn the propulsion duties over to our ICPS. That stands for Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage. Don't try and say that too many times fast, but the ICPS is going to be right here, and that's our in-space propulsion. About 50 minutes into, after about 50 minutes into launch, it is going to conduct that first burn, and that's going to be the perigee raise maneuver. Essentially what that is going to do is going to raise the spacecraft from a lowest point of Earth just a little bit higher into space, and then they are going to conduct that nice path. It's going to set them on that nice circular path around the Earth. That's when they're going to start to be able to really check out this spacecraft. The Orion spacecraft is going to be able to, like we've talked about, be maneuvered by the crew. They're going to check out those life support systems, and communication checkout's going to be vital at that point as well, obviously. Then they will be conducting that another burn, and that's going to raise them just a little bit higher again. And then they will, it'll be about time for the ICPS to separate, and they will start another lap around the Earth as well. Now, the ICPS, but even after it separates, its job will not be done, because they will have the opportunity to conduct something called the Proximity Operations Demonstration. And this is going to be really important for our future lunar missions, because the ICPS actually has a target on it, and the crew is going to have the opportunity to manually maneuver these spacecraft, like we've mentioned, and practice those docking maneuvers. Now, obviously, they will not be docking for this mission, but that is, again, going to be critical for those lunar missions in the future. Now, all right, after that ICPS has separated and they've done that second lap, they're going to conduct 2 more burns. And what these burns are going to do is set them up to the high enough orbit and a fast enough speed in order to conduct the translunar injection. This is going to be that critical moment and that critical milestone where they are going to produce about 6,000 pounds of thrust. And this is that point that is going to take them out of low Earth orbit into deep space, and it's going to set them on that nice path towards that lunar flyby. And I know.
And this Artemis 2 crew might surpass that on flight day 6 when they fly around the moon by more than 4,000 miles.
Yeah, I mean, it's a long ways. It's tough to fathom 250,000 miles from Earth, right? I mean, space, the space station is only 250 miles. And so we're going, I don't want to do the public math, but we're going much further than that. But it's important to do the public math, but we're going much further than that. But it's important, right? Because we want to get back to the moon. We want to see the surface. We want to see the far side of the moon. And the way we do that is by breaking distance records.
Yeah, and the exact distance record depends on exactly when they launch, like the time, the day. So we'll learn more as we go into this 10-day mission with the Artemis 2 crew. But here we are, 32 minutes, 50 seconds and counting from the opening of our launch window. Feels really, really surreal here as more and more people come to gather on the press site lawn here at Kennedy Space Center. Why don't we take a look at this video that we have here? Some familiar faces who wanted to wish our Artemis 2 crew a safe journey.
Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, you are the real deal. You're flying to the moon for all of us, and we are in awe. You're the true heroes.
You are not just astronauts. You are pioneers, venturing deeper into the unknown. But you are not alone. We will be all cheering you on from planet Earth.
Hey, I'm Victor Wembanyama, and I play basketball in the NBA. But I'm not only interested in shooting hoops. I'm also interested in shooting stars, dark matter, and all other types of astronomical phenomenon. And to the Artemis 2 astronauts who are shooting for the moon, I wish them good luck and Godspeed.
Hi everybody. Your ass up, because it's a biologist who goes to space to save the planet in the film Project Hail Mary. But the Artemis 2 astronauts are going to space for real, and they will travel farther from Earth than any humans in history. Sending all our best wishes to the Artemis 2 crew.
I just want to say how proud I am of each of you and how inspired you make me. But it's not just about me. Your mission is going to inspire future generations of scientists, engineers, athletes, and dreamers to do something that they never thought possible.
Hey, it's Roy Wood Jr., and I want to wish the Artemis 2 crew a happy and safe journey to the moon, well, around the moon. To go around, I know what you're doing. You got to look for a parking space. This is to go around the moon, make sure it's somewhere to park, and then you park journey. Good luck.
It's actually a really good way to explain what how this mission builds. Again, we are hoping to land astronauts on the surface of the moon in maybe 2 years. So yes, we are looking around the moon on this lunar flyby mission to see where we might park. Thank you, Roy Wood Jr. Okay, and as we look at this live view of the rocket on the pad, There is a spectacular place here at Kennedy Space Center to watch launch from, and that's the Banana Creek viewing area. Why don't we go back there where the crowd is excited, and Leah has the best assignment ever, talking to people who are super excited about being here for Artemis 2.
Oh my gosh, Megan, you talk about the excitement being palpable. I'm telling you, everybody here on pins and needles as we get just about half an hour away from launch. I've been walking around talking to people, and I'm just struck again and again by how many people are here from across the agency. I want to introduce you to just a small portion of the people across NASA who have been supporting this mission.
Patty Ortiz, NASA Armstrong Flight Research Center.
Go right back here. Where are you from?
I'm from NASA Glenn Research Center, Joseph Pinakitis.
Joseph, here we go.
Wes Furman from APL.
Maria Arredondo from Headquarters, Next Gen STEM.
Mark Robinson, Stennis Space Center, Commercial Space.
Amira Flores, Armstrong, Office of the STEM Engagement.
Molly Kearns, NASA Glenn, Space Communications and Navigation.
Matthew Pierce, Goddard Institute for Space Studies in New York City.
Here we go, and right over here.
Lauren Ring, Ames Research Center, Data Integration.
So we're coming together. We're one big NASA team, one big NASA family, and we have one major message before we launch tonight. Okay, guys, what are we going to say? 1, 2, 3. Go Artemis!
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that made me so emotional. That was so inspiring to see. I mean, wow. Yeah, that was great. I mean, just to hear everybody say their position, what they're doing to support this mission is amazing. And I'm sure this was something that really rang true and resonated with NASA's Administrator Jared Isaacman, again, to see the workforce come together, to do the work, and then to be here for launch. So why don't we actually go over to him now with our Jasmine Hopkins at one of our other viewing locations.
All right, Megan, thank you so much. The energy here on the balcony is honestly becoming electric as we get so close to launch, and now we are thrilled to welcome NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman. Jared, we're really entering a golden age of exploration. How will Artemis 2 set the pace for the coming years?
Well, I mean, Artemis 2 is the opening act, right? This is the test mission. This is getting very comfortable with the SLS rocket, the Orion spacecraft. No humans have ever flown on this before, right? And we're going to put it through its paces. We'll go into Earth orbit for a little bit, make sure Orion's doing okay, and then we are sending them, right? We're going to send them farther into space than any humans might have gone before, 250,000 miles away, and it's going to set up for the subsequent missions. That's why we're going into the golden age of science and discovery right now, because you're going to see moon rocket launch in 2027 when we do our testing with the lander. We're going to go for the landing on Artemis 4 in 2028, and in parallel, we're going to build the moon base, right? And that is going to be filled with science discovery and tech demonstrations that's going to support the enduring presence we're trying to create on the surface.
Absolutely. So honestly, history-making years ahead of us, you know, with Artemis 3 and 4. But first is Artemis 2. What will be our single greatest takeaway from this mission?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, after ignition, to me, the moment that I'm going to be most excited for is splashdown. There's no question about that. Good shoots coming down off the West Coast. But look, I think the takeaway from this is gaining extreme comfort in the Orion spacecraft, right? I mean, this is very different than what we've done for more than a half century, right? I mean, the velocities that spacecraft is going to re-enter at, it's going to be new territory for us. We want to get our arms around that completely. So I would say the performance of SLS plus Orion is everything on this one. We want to make sure we do it in as a safe way as we possibly can, understanding what we are undertaking right here, bring our crew back, learn as much as we can from the vehicle, set up for Artemis 3 in 2027.
Right. And Administrator, we've actually had a pretty young audience today here, some kids running around the balcony. How do you hope Artemis 2 inspires that next generation?
You know, I talk about this all the time. Like, you know, one of our overarching KPIs that we should always be tracking is the number of people living and working in space. Well, you know what's another strong number 2 on that one? It's the number of kids that are dressing up as astronauts for Halloween, so that they grow up, that they're inspired to want to join in this grand endeavor, whether they come work with us here at NASA or they join in industry, but they're helping humankind venture out farther, pursue all the secrets to the universe.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of kids dressed as astronauts this year. And finally, Jared, you've really made it a personal mission to get to know the people behind the work at NASA. Do you have any final thoughts, any final words before today's history-making launch?
Yeah, well, one, I want to express a lot of appreciation. I'll tell you what, the 4 astronauts on top of Artemis 2 know this. It takes an army to pull a mission together like this, right? Across all 10 of our centers, all of our commercial partners, the international partners that come together to make this possible. My sincere appreciation for everyone. Mobile launcher gets back in the VAB, we're going to start. Mobile launcher gets back in the VAB, we're going to start stacking.
Wow, plenty of excitement ahead of us. Jared Isaacman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Of course. All right. And with that, let's get back to the countdown with NASA's Megan Cruz.
Under 25 minutes and counting from the opening of our 2-hour launch window, and take a look at all these people behind us. I literally, every moment I turn around and I see the clock, I am like, oh, wow. Oh, wow.
There are more people and less time.
Yes, exactly, which is a great problem to have.
Yes.
Now, this first crewed test flight of NASA's Artemis program coincides with the 250th anniversary of our country's founders signing the Declaration of Independence. Exploration is a part of America's DNA, and it continues now with our return to the moon.
250 years ago, 13 colonies laid the foundation for the greatest and most enduring in the history of the world. One driven by courage, faith, and freedom. From that moment, we became a nation defined not by where we stood, but by how far on the moon. The defining achievement of American superiority in space. Today, our curiosity stretches farther than ever. American robots search ancient rivers on Mars. New telescopes unfold to glimpse the first stars. And a new generation prepares to return to the moon, this time to stay. For 250 years, America has carried the light of humanity forward. But American exceptionalism isn't inherited, it's earned. Our greatness comes not only from what we've done, but what we're still determined to discover. Because in every era, across every horizon, America is at its best when it's reaching for something greater. America celebrates 250 years, and we are leading the world into the future.
22 minutes, 15 seconds and counting from Artemis 2, NASA's boldest test flight in a generation. The crew has said this often, that they hope it inspires children around the world. And recently, a group of kids here at Kennedy Space Center got a surprise of a lifetime while watching that rocket roll to the launch pad.
So tell me what color it is. And you're going to be on that rocket. We're going to be on that rocket.
I can make it a little bit longer. Did you see it? Okay, so everybody's looking at the rocket because it is kind of cool and impressive. One of the coolest things happening over there right now, though, is it's on top of a giant tractor.
Doesn't all food come in like tubes? It's in these like little plastic bags. You have to like rehydrate it. Sushi. There's not. I haven't seen sushi in space. It's probably hard to keep that back.
It's sushi mashed together.
My favorite part was this one little girl. She had a question. She had patiently held her hand for a long time, and Christina turns to her and says, "Okay, what's your question?" She just goes, "I forgot." It was like, that's a perfect little kid moment. I just love.
Wait, are you my mother's cartoon astronauts?
What? Say that again?
Never mind. It's a little hard to say. Go Artemis!
These two? Yeah. Put it on.
Look at this one.
Yeah.
There you go. I like your
dabbing astronaut back there. It's just so fun to see the enthusiasm, the energy, and a little bit of chaos.
3, 2, 1.
Wasn't that so cute?
I love kids and their excitement and, even just being real. Like, I don't remember what I was
I know,
gonna
he
ask.
goes, but I'm glad you're here. Now here we are, Space Center Houston. The crowd has exponentially grown throughout the day. We started showing you live shots from in there probably an hour ago, and now take a look at all the people there getting ready to witness history together. It's something really special to be able to witness something like this together.
Yeah, we've heard from celebrities and officials and kids, and it's amazing. People from all around the world came here today to Florida to watch. So it's something. It's hard to put into words just how much support for this mission we're seeing today.
And great news too. Remember, the team was tracking an issue with the launch abort system battery. They appear to have cleared that issue, so we are go for launch.
Yes, it's exciting.
U.S. Space and Rocket Center here, Huntsville, Alabama, waving to the Artemis II crew sitting right there inside Orion. Inside of 20 minutes from the opening of our launch window, and right now we are targeting the top of that launch window, so we could be launching here in about 19 minutes, Nicole.
Wow, I don't know if I expected this today. I'm excited, and I'm glad they were able to clear the problem with the battery on the LAS, and everything has gone really smoothly today. It's been great. The weather cleared up. It's a beautiful day for a launch.
And so now, as we are so close to possibly launch now, just what are your final thoughts as we are about to embark on a mission back to the moon, the first time in more than 50 years?
Yeah, just so proud of the crew and all of the teams here on the ground that made this happen. They are carrying the torch from the Apollo era into the Artemis era. And, as the crew likes to say, they want to be the shoulders that the next generation.
And let's see, GLS, can you help us with that, please?
They want to be the crew wants to be the shoulders that the next generation can climb on.
001.
I think it's in their patch. We're going for all. It's in the name of their capsule, integrity, representing humility and the professionalism of everyone that got them there today. So proud of them. We love them. We're excited for them, and we cannot wait to see what they see.
Just leveraging everything we've learned so far as an agency, taking us from Apollo now to the launch pad here, 39B, with Orion and SLS poised to again fly us into the history books. And before we leave you now here at the host desk to get back into operations, we just wanted to answer one question for you guys. We asked you earlier on today, what are you most excited for? And we asked you to go vote on Instagram and Twitch. Instagram, you guys said launch. Twitch, you guys said lunar flyby. So I think you guys will all be very excited since we are now about 17 minutes from the opening of our launch window today. And so with that, as we approach terminal count, let's send it back to Daryl Nail in firing room 1. Daryl.
All right, thank you, Megan and Nicole. And just want to give you an update on the launch abort system that you just reported that they cleared. They believe, they're convinced, this is an instrumentation failure. So there are 2 batteries on the LAS. The LAS, of course, and with the help of my 2-year-old son's model rocket, their data going back into the vehicle assembly building where they recharged the batteries and worked on them. And they have good, solid data, they reported, that tells them that this is an instrumentation failure, that there's something wrong with the sensor. And so they took it before the mission management team, which has to accept the risk, any changes to launch commit criteria, which this would be one, and they all fully accepted it. So now we are clear as far as that constraint is concerned. And one quick thing as we count down now, we are getting into the final minutes before liftoff. There's a 2-hour window. We haven't quite set the T0 yet, but this is a list of the cutouts. There are 150 cutouts that are included for this 2-hour launch window. And that's important. They're in very small print. That's important because there's basically 16 minutes inside this window that they cannot launch. And these are because of small things flying in orbit. There's a lot more things in orbit than there were back in Artemis 1 when we had 35 to 40 cutouts. For that reason, because of these 156 cutouts, they're going to be managing the launch window as we go forward. So they may have to wait out one of these cutouts. They range in time between 2 seconds to 23 seconds, but you'll hear the NASA test director talk through that. We're getting ready to merge that loop from NASA test director Jeff Spaulding. And so now I'm listening to the launch team get ready to merge their operational channel. We're now entering one of the most consequential phases of launch day, and that's terminal count, the final 10 minutes.
And OTC, NTD on 212 for comm check.
Good comm. How me?
I hear the same. STC?
2.
GTC?
GTC is on 212.
All right, copy that.
NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding confirming communications with his team. There will be 2 polls that we'll hear. One from Spaulding, the NASA test director, confirming the ground systems and the launch team are ready to proceed. At this point, we have a clear board, no constraints, but we need confirmation from each individual on the NASA test director team. So we'll hear him poll his team. The other poll that we're waiting for is the poll from Launch Director Charlie Blackwell Thompson, who will take that final status from NASA management before giving the go to come out of a hold. And you're seeing the clock count down at L minus 12 minutes.
CCL, OTC, Orion, RS1.
CCL.
Yes, sir. Reconfigure ARS primary loop ISO valves.
Copy, that's in work.
And CDR, OTC, Orion, RS1.
Go.
ARS loop ISO valves are being closed at this time.
Integrity copies.
NGDLP.
Go.
Yes, I had a discussion with sea ice and with MER manager regarding the observation the sea ice had a few minutes ago. They were able to confirm with BCI photos that the condition that they observed has been there since 2025.
And CGLS NTD, cancel pending, please.
GLS copies, and that's complete.
All right, and for all personnel, we got a little bit more work to do before we pick up the clock, and we're about a little over a minute from getting to T-minus 10 minutes, but we've canceled the resume time there, and then we'll pick it up after we get through all of our work and anything else that we need to do to get through the remainder of counts. So we'll continue working that to get to our T0 today. So when we get to about 50 seconds from now, we'll extend that hold.
CVSC OTC. CVSE. 400, 290, looking to verify that we are configured for ascent.
Copy that.
I have an LCC violation of O-CT-004, S-band transponder anomaly. This was a transient LCC violation, so transponder 1 had a demodulated SNR estimate that went down to 2 dBm when it should have been between 10 and 13. It is now back up to 12, but we did lose that for just a moment. It does not appear that we lost our bit sync or carrier lock, which would be indicative that we lost our lock with the vehicle. So at this point, recommendation would still be go. However, we do have a pre-planned contingency procedure if we want to look at that. But again, this is transient, so we're back in a nominal range.
All right, let's see, LPE NTD.
Yeah, we're not seeing that hit, so I guess the question for COSC, was that less than 3 samples? Is that below our persistence?
Stand by, let me look. It did look like it did persist for several seconds on mine, but let me take a look at the number of samples.
Could I get a repeat on the affected LCC, please?
Yes, ma'am. That's going to be O-CT-004.
Thank you.
Yeah, us taking a look at the data right here, looks like that was a single sample.
Yeah, copy that. RFTS does report that they also lost lock for about 5 seconds. So I would love to ask KUS and see if they also lost lock with the vehicle for any extended amount of period.
And COSE, while we're doing that, these are 1/10 hertz measurements, correct? So we would have had to lose it for over 10 seconds to get a second sample?
Yes, sir, that's correct. It is 1/10 hertz.
Yeah, so from our perspective, the allowance is effectively up to 30 seconds, up to 3 samples based on the 1/10 hertz. This is not an LCC violation, I believe.
Yes, sir. I would agree with that at this point. Copy that.
We're checking with KUS on 232. I don't think they have 212 access. We're trying to verify, but it sounds like they have a loss of lock as well. About 2 seconds.
Okay. And I guess for both KUS and COSE, do we have lock now?
That's affirmed. We do have lock for COSE.
Yeah, so from the integration console perspective, we did have a temporary loss there within the allowable, and per the requirement, let's go.
And this is Houston Flight. We have lock and we have good telemetry here in GSE.
And KUS is reported to they have good lock now. So with all of that, OSC, then are we in a go configuration per your LCC?
Yes, sir. Recommendation would be go.
Okay. LPE, you concur with that?
Yes, sir. LPE concurs go.
And Launch Director?
Yes, sir. Launch Director concurs go.
All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just verify everybody has everything else complete, Launch Director, and if we do, we'll be ready to pick up the poll at that time, unless there's something else that you're aware of.
No, sir. Let's verify all our work is complete, and I would like one last check of our constraints list.
All right, let's see. OTC, are you still waiting for ComConfig, or are you complete?
That is affirmed, sir.
Okay, is that your only open item?
Yeah, OTC, this is CVSC. That 400 step 290 is complete.
Copy.
Okay, so OTC, you're complete with all of your work?
That's affirmed.
All right, copy that. STC?
STC is complete.
And GTC?
GTC is complete.
Okay, excellent. All right, and LPE, just want to verify we have no open constraints at this time.
No open constraints. We have a clear board, sir.
Okay, tracking the same here. And Launch Director, with that, we are clear and ready to pick up the launch readiness poll with your go.
All right, sir. I am go for the poll.
All right. And for all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the Artemis II launch readiness check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
OTC is go.
STC.
STC is go.
GTC.
C's go.
MCO.
CO's go.
Safety Console.
The Safety Console is go.
LPE.
LPE's go.
RTD.
RTD's go.
Houston Flight.
Houston Flight is go.
ROC.
ROC is go.
And CDR.
Crew is go.
Copy that. Thank you, Reed. And Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
All right, NTD, I copy all. At this time, I'll perform my poll. Attention on the net. This is the Launch Director performing the final poll for launch. Verify no constraints and go for launch. EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range Weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis MMT Chair.
MMT's go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good air voice, Charlie. PLT.
Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families.
MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2. This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity. All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go. And NTD Launch Director.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
Yes, sir. You have a go to proceed with countdown.
Copy that. I'll put it in work. CDR, NTD.
Go.
Configure risers and initiate short purge per your EPROC 10.1.1, steps 8 and 9.
10.1.1, 8 and 9 going to work.
Copy. CVSE NTD, start and verify recordings of our Orion cameras.
Copy.
Okay. Well, there you heard it.
RSR NTD.
RSR.
They're getting ready to start terminal count.
SNA arm rotation enable at this time, please.
It's currently at T-minus 10 minutes. Once we wrap up this last bit of work,
SNA arm rotation enable complete.
we're going to start that clock.
Copy that. Thank you.
Integrity crew, close and lock visors.
You heard an issue, worked in real time with telemetry lock on the Orion. It was transitory. It was very short. They checked the data, confirmed that they had a good lock. This was with the S-band transmitter, which starts in just a few minutes at 6.
All personnel, once we get that short purge verification, we'll verify that we are clear to go, and then we'll proceed with the terminal count. ECL time estimate?
About a minute.
Copy.
So we're going into the launch window, but not by much, it looks like. Just wrapping up some final work. And once that's completed, you'll hear NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding ask for the ground launch sequencer operator to go ahead and start the clock. The ground launch sequencer is an application software. It runs on top of the launch control system in the firing room. Acts like a conductor of an orchestra, executing hundreds of commands in precise order and timing. It's all autonomous.
Entity CCL 212, short purge initiation is verified.
All right, copy that, and we're verifying our constraints. All right, and we're clear from cutouts. And with that, we're going to resume the clock momentarily. And CGLS, you can resume the clock on your mark.
GLS copies. 3, 2, 1, mark. GLS mainline has been initiated.
T minus 10 minutes and counting.
And that begins terminal count. Our new T0 is 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. We are now counting down to liftoff of Artemis 2. From now on, you're going to hear two voices on the loops. If everything goes nominally, NASA Test Director Jeff Spaulding, who's directly managing the launch team, and Alex Bendelos, the GLS operator who closely monitors the software. He has the ability to stop and restart the countdown. A lot of people ask about whether there's a launch button. There certainly is not.
Houston flight and Rock, our new T0 is 22:35:12.
Houston flight copies. Rock copies. 22:35:12.
Affirm.
There you heard confirmation of the exact T0, 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Again, our T0 is 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. But as I was saying, there's no launch button. This is autonomous. But there is a button that keeps you from launching, and that button allows the GLS operator to pause the countdown outside of terminal count and during terminal count and submit a hold to the next holding point. So the clock won't stop right away. If there's an issue, we'll go to the next stable holding point. This is how GLS configures the rocket and ground systems to a stable point where they can stop the countdown if that's needed. But right now, we are counting down. Our next big milestone, looking to retract the crew access arm.
GLS is go for crew access arm retract.
And there you see the crew access arm moving away. That's the path that the astronauts took to ingress into the rocket. Until this point, that was their way off the pad if they needed to evacuate. But now with that arm retracting, the backup transitions to a launch abort system, and they'll begin arming that shortly. Of course, the launch abort system, great shot there of the crew access arm retracting away. The launch abort system is the tower at the top, and that's what would pull Orion and its crew off the top of the rocket in case of an emergency, whether it's on the ground or in flight. This is critical safety hardware that protects the lives of the astronauts. Starting at T-minus 6 minutes, the GLS will start bringing that and other high-energy systems online, starting with core stage pressurization. Weather is 90% go. The range is go. All systems are go.
GLS is go for core stage tank pressurization.
That means the replenish valve for the liquid hydrogen tank has now closed, and that tank is beginning to pressurize to flight levels because that hydrogen is naturally boiling inside the tank. We'll get the liquid oxygen tank a little later in the count. Now the team is waiting for verification that, if needed, the Artemis II crew could use the launch abort system to pull Orion safely off the top of the rocket in an emergency. Let's listen in for that call.
GLS verifies last capability available.
And CDR, do you copy?
CDR copies, last available.
That's great news, and you heard the NTD verify that with the commander of the mission.
GLS is go for FTS arm.
Now work is being done to arm the flight termination system. This is so the range safety can send a flight termination command if the rocket flies too far off track. There's a brief built-in delay so the launch abort system has time to pull the astronauts to safety first.
LH2 high flow bleed check.
All right, the high flow bleed check. That's so the cryo team gets verification that the RS-25 engines, all 4 of them, are in the proper temperature range for launch.
GLS is go for core stage APU start.
Core stage APUs start. Those are auxiliary power units, high-speed turbines which provide pressure to hydraulic pumps that steer the RS-25 engines. We're going to see a gimbal test a little later at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. This is what allows that to happen. Coming up in about 20 seconds, we're listening for go for purge sequence 4. That's a helium purge of the 4 core stage engines downstream of the propellant valve. This gets all the air and moisture out of there.
GLS is go for purge sequence 4.
Moving through the milestones. All is looking good. Coming up in just a few seconds, we're going to get that thrust vector control actuator test. This is a gimbaling of the engines. There are the 4 RS-25s, 3 of them Shuttle Heritage, 1 of them built from shuttle parts. And there you see them moving. Now we're going to start moving the power from both the upper stage and the lower stage of the rocket to internal, taking ground power away and now going to battery power.
GLS is go for upper stage to internal power.
All right, power is removed from the rocket's upper stage, the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery. Same milestone for the lower core stage coming up at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. Right now, the 4-person Artemis II crew is 248,000 miles away from the moon. And if all goes well, they will fly by it in 6 days.
GLS is go for core stage to internal power.
All right, there's the rocket's core stage, which houses 3 flight computers, is now on its own power. There's no more hold time because there's no more margin on these batteries. So we would have to recycle back to T-minus 10 to recharge if we had a hold.
One minute.
Right now, the rocket does not know what the T0 is, but coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, control shifts from the ground launch sequencer to the rocket's onboard autonomous launch sequencer, or ALS. The rocket will count itself down, but honor any holds that could come from the ground. Now, shortly after liftoff, Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague Gary Jordan will take over commentary.
GLS is go for ALS.
Great call out. The rocket is on its own. 4 brave explorers ready to ride the most powerful rocket NASA has ever launched. Sound suppression water is flowing.
15.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate beacon. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission elapsed time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon.
Have you the same?
Communication signal transfer confirmed as Integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis II mission. Integrity is 14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles per hour. Minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, ahead of solid rocket booster separation, expected at the 2-minute 9-second mark. We see throttle down. Confirmed separation. Main engine's throttling up, guidance converged.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
Copy all, Stan.
Integrity, SM priming complete.
SM priming complete.
2 minutes 45 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission. Thrusters on Integrity and upper stage confirmed in a ready state, ahead of service module fairing separation. 3 minutes into the flight. Integrity, 49 miles in altitude, 78 miles downrange, now passing 5,000 miles per hour. Standing by for launch abort system jettison.
Houston Integrity, good last jettison, great view.
Copy jettison, Team Eco 8+02.
We see the same on board, Stan.
And Houston has you loud and clear on Tidris at the Carmen line.
Outstanding, Stan, we have you the same.
3 minutes 50 seconds into the flight of Artemis 2. Wiseman, Glover, Cook, and Hansen cross the boundary to space with good comm checks. GPS signals acquired after last year. And now working on internal checks to verify accuracy. Flight Dynamics Officer analyzed the time of main engine cutoff, confirmed at 8 minutes 2 seconds, time of MECO.
Integrity, GPS processing.
Outstanding, Stan, we see the same, and we have a beautiful moonrise. We're headed right at it.
Approaching 5 minutes into the flight, Commander Reed Wiseman confirms he has visuals of his destination. GPS guidance, navigation, and control software finishes internal checks and sends to navigation channels.
Integrity, 3 engine press.
3 engine press.
On time, now passing 5 minutes 20 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis 2 mission. At this point, 3 good main engines are all that's needed to carry Integrity to a nominal main engine cutoff target. Though at this time, we're seeing 4 good engines here in Mission Control Houston. Integrity, 75 miles in altitude, 330 miles downrange, approaching 10,000 miles per hour.
Integrity, looking good at 6 minutes.
Same on board, Stan.
Good trajectory and engine performance. Booster officer will soon report the shutdown plan to Flight Director Judd Friedling, expected at the 7-minute mark. Integrity, 78 miles in altitude, 460 miles downrange.
Integrity, expect nominal shutdown.
Integrity copies nominal shutdown.
Six minutes 40 seconds of mission elapsed time. Shutdown plan is as expected. Again, the time of MECO was confirmed at 8 minutes 2 seconds into the flight. Seven minutes of mission elapsed time. Throttling down as we approach the abort once around option. Milestone at the 7-minute 30-second mark. Now 84 miles in altitude, 650 miles downrange, traveling more than 15,000 miles per hour.
Integrity, AOA open.
AOA open.
The window is now open for an abort once around option that would target splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Still following nominal ascent at this time. About 10 seconds remaining until the main engine cutoff of the Space Launch System core stage. Standing by for confirmation of MECO and core stage separation.
Integrity and nominal MECO, core stage separated.
We see the same on board, Stan.
Eight minutes, 40 seconds into the flight, we have a nominal main engine cutoff heading in the right trajectory on the way to swing around the moon. Core stage has separated, done its job. The Space Launch System upper stage, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS, still attached to the Orion spacecraft. Nine minutes of mission elapsed time. Integrity crew of Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen now in orbit around the Earth at the beginning of their journey to the moon.
Integrity Houston, looking ahead to PRM numbers so far per the pad.
Copy that, Stan. Numbers for the pad.
Capcom Stan Loves now reminding the crew that the perigee raise maneuver time of ignition is as expected prior to booster ignition. That time being 49 minutes, 50 seconds of mission elapsed time.
Integrity, good. NEDS deploy.
Copy that, Stan. Good, Neds.
And Integrity Houston for PWD setup. Just a reminder, halfway open on the secondary.
We copy that, Stan. Halfway open.
Passing 11 minutes of mission elapsed time. Here, overhearing the conversation between Capcom Stan Love and Commander Reed Wiseman, already passing some milestones. We have a good nozzle extension deployment system. That is confirmed. Complete. We also have the visors are confirmed up. Now past the dynamic phase of flight, that is ascent. Their launch and entry suits that provided them an extra layer of protection. Now not as needed. They're going to raise those visors. And later in today's mission, they will begin to egress or get out of the suits to begin some of their initial tasks of activating some of the systems aboard in the Integrity spacecraft. It's passing 12 minutes of mission elapsed time. Again, the perigee raise maneuver that's targeted near 50 minutes of mission elapsed time, 49 minutes, 50 seconds. That's what the crew is going to be working towards. The Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover will focus on preparing for that milestone. In the meantime, mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen will start some of the activation of environmental control life support systems. You may hear confirmation of their activation over the Orion to Earth communication network.
Houston, C3 Aux power back in auto.
Copy C3 Aux, and we're 2 minutes to maneuver.
"13 minutes and 30 seconds of mission elapsed time. We're going to continue to follow the crew of the Artemis 2 mission. They are beginning their journey around the moon to verify the systems that will take us to its surface. An incredible ascent. Artemis 2 is underway. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen begin their journey to the moon. Still milestones to come up as we await solar array deploy and the critical burns that will get Integrity into high Earth orbit around the Earth before engines are fired to get us around the moon. We'll keep tabs on Integrity and its crew from here in Mission Control Houston. But for now, we're going to send it back to you, Megan and Nicole at the Kennedy Space Center. Very jealous to hear how the launch experience was over on the Space Coast.
Yeah, Gary, if people are just joining us, welcome back to the Space Coast, where we just saw Artemis 2 lift off 14 minutes ago. And wow, what an amazing launch, and an emotional one, too. As soon as the rocket lifted off, Nicole, you had tears in your eyes, I had tears in my eyes, and we had all these people around us cheering. It was amazing.
Yeah, the energy was wonderful. I mean, it was a beautiful launch. You know, we've got 4 friends and family members headed to the moon. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, how does that make you feel as someone who, you know, is an astronaut as well, but also, as you said, friends?
Yeah, so proud of them. You know, man, we don't have the words in the English language to describe this kind of an event. And pride, love, so many emotions. You know, they are truly breaking some barriers, and hopefully, you know, as Gary just said, they've got a long day ahead of them, so wishing them well on everything. But so far, what a beautiful launch to watch.
Yeah, to be returning to the lunar orbit in more than 50 years. Maybe they go farther from Earth than any other humans before them. Maybe they see parts of the moon that we've never seen before. I mean, what a great start to what could be all of these milestones that we break in just a 10-day mission.
Yes, what a way to welcome in the Artemis generation.
Yeah, how do you feel? I mean, we saw some beautiful shots we were covering of course, the rocket, of course, the Earth falling away as we continued up into our ascents, but also some of those crowd shots where we saw young and old just emotional, overcome by this history-making moment.
Man, we are going back to the moon for all, and we saw that today. We saw that in all the crowds. And yeah, you guys just saw that view, the sunrise or sunset, I guess. They just made it over the crest of the Earth, and you could see the sun peeking over. One of my favorite views from space. And I can't imagine what they're looking at now, and I can't wait to see what they're looking at in about 5 or 6 days.
Yeah, and you know, I know a lot of people are like, you know what, I'm surprised this launched on the first try, because we know, like any little thing, we have to be keeping safety in mind, and we want to make sure we're ready to go. But we were ready to go, and I think it surprised a lot of people. What a wonderful surprise on this Wednesday evening.
It did, you know, and it kind of surprised me as well. But you know, it's just a testament to the team here that has been working so hard on Artemis. You know, Artemis 1, we learned a ton of lessons. We learned a ton from the wet dress for Artemis 2. We were able to go in, fix those things. We even had a couple mishaps today, not mishaps, but a couple, you know, anomalies today that the team creatively came up with solutions for. It's just a testament to the teamwork that gets us to the moon.
And so we can continue to watch Christina, Reed, Victor, and Jeremy on their way now to the moon in Earth's orbit, and awaiting the next in-flight milestones, deploying Orion's solar arrays. So why don't we get back in with Mission Control and Gary.
Hey, thank you, Megan. Again, we're following along in the action. It is a long day. They have a number of procedures they need to get to immediately in their timeline.
And Integrity Houston, cross-tie is on board per the ETSI-DEM.
We copy, Houston. Thank you.
Cross-tie referring to flight controllers here initiating a connection between some of the batteries aboard the Orion spacecraft. allowing for an even distribution of power. This is the flight control teams that took us through ascent of the Artemis 2 mission today. Right now we're, as you see, passing 18 minutes of mission elapsed time. The Orion spacecraft integrity and the interim cryogenic propulsion system are maneuvering tail to sun. It is in this orientation, this attitude.
Integrity, any words on that momentary prop caution?
And Reed, no action. We're looking at it.
Commander Reed Wiseman verifying what is being routed to his displays aboard integrity. Propulsion engineer confirming that no action is needed at this time. They're pressing through with their nominal procedures to prepare for the perigee raise maneuver. And of course, the solar array wing deploy ahead of that. The solar wing deploy is a critical milestone. We'll continue to have our coverage follow the mission until that deployment. A successful launch is just the beginning. The deployment of the solar arrays and successful confirmation that those solar array wings are drawing power is a significant milestone, and says to the flight control teams that we will continue on today's mission. Power needs to be drawn to continue through some of the next milestones. Until then, the AOA open option that was called up upon ascent, the aboard once around, is the current option, and abort to orbit option ATO will be switched to a preferred mode at the time that the solar array wings are deployed and latched. It gives the flight control teams a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, Integrity Houston, update on TDRS handover for your pad.
Give us just 1 minute. And Stan, you can read it. Ike is ready to copy.
Roger. TDRS handover east to west expected 1 second earlier at 5:1 minutes 26 seconds.
Hi, Stan. We copy 1 second earlier for 5126 TDRS east to west, and saws are starting to deploy. Thermal knives are firing.
We concur. Thanks for the report.
Read back of the reports that you just heard on the Orion to Earth network. Integrity has maneuvered tail to sun. The RL-10 nozzle on the end of the ICPS is pointed towards the sun, and the solar array deployment sequence has begun. With the deployment confirmed, it'll be several minutes until they are what is called in a latched position. Once they are latched and confirmed to be drawing power, they can switch the mode to ATO and continue along the mission. The teacher's handover at the pad, that message meant the crew was provided some preliminary numbers of when to expect handovers between the tracking and data relay satellites. Currently orbiting Earth at an altitude of 545 statute miles above the Earth, they are in a near-Earth network communication system. The tracking and data relay satellites, geosynchronous satellites that are stationed about 23,000 miles above the Earth. After the apogee raise burn that occurs later today, the burn itself will put them in an altitude that surpasses the range of the tracking and data relay satellites, and they will transition to the deep space network today.
And Integrity, for prop messages, we see 2 temperature measurements right near the line. It's that momentary message you saw earlier. We're going to suppress those. It's CM helium heater 2 T1 and heater 1 T1. They're going suppressed.
Integrity, thank you. We see the same.
This is Mission Control Houston, passing 23 minutes of mission elapsed time into the Artemis 2 mission. This is after a launch that began at 5:35 and 12 seconds Central Time, 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Right now, the orientation you're seeing from our arrow visualization that translates some of the telemetry that we're getting from the spacecraft and puts it into a model so you can follow along on some of the milestones that we are following here. The RL-10 nozzle that you see at the left end of your screen, though it is currently not firing, that nozzle is pointed towards the sun, and the solar arrays are currently deploying. From this visualization, they looked fully stowed in a position.
Integrity, we are happy to report that Jeremy has the O2 sensors on.
Copy O2 sensors.
Again, Commander Reed Wiseman and pilot Victor Glover overseeing the deployment of the solar arrays. And we'll follow the attitude maneuver changes ahead of the first burn of the ICPS engine, the perigee raise maneuver.
Integrity Houston, we see 4 saws deployed and latched, ready for ATO preferred.
Yeah, we're almost there in the procedure stand, and we see the same thing.
In Integrity Houston, we are seeing a 7-second miscompare between the MET on Orion and ICPS. We'd like you to read us the MET from your center status bar and for the ICPS on StackSum.
And Stan, we see a absolutely precise alignment. MET 25, 14, 15, 16, precisely aligned with ICPS MET.
Copy, thank you for that. We'll investigate a ground issue.
And Houston Integrity, ATO preferred set.
Copy, ATO preferred.
This is Mission Control Houston, 25 minutes, 45 seconds into the flight of Artemis 2. We have confirmation that all 4 solar array wings are deployed and latched. This is the configuration needed to switch to ATO preferred, which you did hear confirmed from pilot Victor Glover. That mode has been switched. There was also a discussion with Capcom Stan Love and Commander Reed Wiseman about the alignment of the MET clocks on the Orion spacecraft and the ICPS. Commander Reed Wiseman confirmed the clocks are in sync, no issues, they're going to investigate it on the ground. We're proceeding with today's mission. 26 minutes of mission elapsed time and counting. This is Mission Control Houston. We're approaching 28 minutes of mission elapsed time into the Artemis 2 mission. At this point, we've had a successful liftoff from the pad at 5:35 p.m. and 12 seconds p.m. Central Time, 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. We've had a good main engine cutoff, core stage separation, and a good trajectory to begin today's mission. Right now, the spacecraft has maneuvered tail to sun. We're standing by for another maneuver to maneuver into the burn attitude. This is where the RL-10 engine of the ICPS is pointed in the correct orientation for the perigee raise maneuver. We did hear confirmation that the perigee raise maneuver time of ignition has been confirmed per the pad, which means it was the predicted time prior to liftoff.
Integrity for GNC, we're taking channel 1 to unfiltered and to BFS.
Okay, Stan, we're watching. Go ahead.
Capcom Stan Love reading up to the crew of Integrity. They will switch the navigation source from channel 1, standing by for confirmation that that switch has occurred. Pilot Victor Glover will receive confirmation when, and as at least watching to confirm that that switch has occurred. Again, the perigee raise maneuver that we're heading towards, not too long from now, we're actually inside 20 minutes at this time from the time of ignition of the perigee raise maneuver. We did have a successful deployment and launched of all 4 solar array wings. This is the configuration needed to commit to the perigee raise maneuver. Of course, flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston will continue to evaluate that everything is good before committing to that burn. The perigee raise maneuver does raise the perigee, the lowest point in the orbit, from 15 to 100 nautical miles. The 100 nautical mile mark is needed to continue in low Earth orbit and hit the target for the apogee raise burn. That will put them in a high Earth orbit for the remainder of the day and set them up for the right position to execute the translunar injection and head to the moon tomorrow. The burn duration of the perigee raise maneuver is 26 seconds. A relatively short burn, but it does raise the perigee and do the job to get into the correct position before firing that main engine on the ICPS. The pad had a TGERS handover. This is the tracking and data relay satellites. East to west, they are geosynchronous satellites that are positioned around the globe. And as Orion makes its way around the Earth right now, above the west coast of Africa, at an altitude of about 923 statute miles, and counting. The perigee raise maneuver is not executed at the perigee. It is rather executed on the, actually closer to the apogee. But what it does is it raises the perigee on the other end of the orbit to 100 nautical miles. The 26-second duration burn does not conflict with the time that they've reported of the tracking and data relay satellite handover from TGERS east to west. Again, geosynchronous satellites that are used not only by Integrity today, but the International Space Station as well. That time of handover is 51 minutes, 26 seconds. Plenty of margin before the perigee raise maneuver cutoff happens, and the trajectory is analyzed to see whether it was a good burn. A good burn means that the burn was performed as expected and sets the trajectory on course for that 100 nautical mile perigee target mark. Again, for those sticking with us on NASA Plus and following along on our coverage, we will continue to follow and to cover the mission until, actually, we'll continue to cover the mission 24/7. But we'll wrap up our coverage here shortly. And now that solar array wing deployment has occurred on NASA Plus and Amazon Prime. Again, we will continue coverage 24/7 at the NASA YouTube channel. For those that want to see all of the upcoming milestones, there are select times where we will be coming back to NASA Plus and other streaming platforms. You can go to nasa.gov to find the latest on when to find those activities. Given that this is an operational mission, we do want to make sure that we are maintaining transparency in the mission and providing you all the information on what's happening in space as Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen head on their mission around the moon. Inside Integrity at this time, again, the solar array wings have deployed. The Integrity is maneuvering to its burn attitude ahead of the execution of the perigee raise maneuver. Overseeing these steps is primarily done by Commander Reed Wiseman and pilot Victor Glover. Mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen focusing on some of the system activation inside of Orion, namely the environmental and control and life support systems. The activation and checkout of some of these critical systems are very important to continuing on the mission, making sure that those systems are in a good condition and in a reliable condition to provide the necessary environmental and control needs of the crew with humans on board through the duration of the mission that extends 10 flight days. Standing by for an update to the perigee raise maneuver time of ignition. Should be read up to the crew very shortly.
Integrity Houston, updated PRM numbers when you're ready to copy.
All right, Houston, we are ready to copy.
TIG is 2 seconds earlier at 4 minutes, 48 seconds. TIGO unchanged at 26 seconds.
49, 48, TIGO 26.
This is Mission Control Houston. With that update, we are approaching a little more than 13 minutes from the time of ignition of the perigee raise maneuver. That time updated to be 2 seconds earlier was 49 minutes, 50 seconds of mission elapsed time. We'll now move to 49 minutes, 48 seconds. The duration of the burn, that's what was referred to as the TGO, will still remain at 26 seconds. Relatively short duration burn, again, just raises the perigee of the orbit today. Making sure they hit the mark on that time of ignition is the primary concern of Commander Reed Wiseman and pilot Victor Glover. Mission specialist Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen inside activating those environmental control and life support systems. At this time, all 4 crew members are wearing the launch and entry suits.
Integrity Houston, for Optimus on the PCD, we have time update instructions when you're ready.
And Houston, Integrity, we copy. Hands are pretty busy at this time. I think we will call you back when we're ready for that.
All right, that one is not urgent. 2 minutes to maneuver to PRM attitude.
We are watching and concurred. 90-second-ish, maybe.
Victor Glover confirming that that maneuver 2 minutes. Of that maneuver is to point the main engine of the ICPS, the RL-10 engine, in the proper orientation to execute that 26-second burn. It needs to point in the correct position to achieve the goal of raising the perigee to 100 nautical miles. You heard some of the environmental control system activations over Orion to Earth. Jeremy Hansen activated the O2 sensors. They'll be measuring the cabin of Orion. During all of the activations, here on the ground in Mission Control Houston, Flight Director Judd Freeling is doing a poll with all flight controllers in the room to see if we are in a go position to go ahead and execute the perigee raise maneuver. Once crew, and we'll stand by for that.
Integrity Houston, MCC polls go for PRM pending attitude and saws.
Okay, we copy. MCC is go. Maneuver starting.
Minutes of mission elapsed time. The maneuver to the burn attitude has begun. The maneuver reorientation of the solar array. They will have various positions throughout the duration of the flight. Of course, solar array is meant to maximize the draw of power from the sun. So when deployed, we're in a biased solar array wing configuration that was called solar normal. This allows for the greatest surface area of the solar array wings to be drawing power and powering up those batteries of integrity, of which a cross-tie was enabled between the four batteries, the four battery buses that are inside of Orion. However, for the perigee raise maneuver, the solar array wings will be put into a position to take on the loads imparted by the ICPS main engine when they execute the 26-second burn. You can see in the animation here, the solar array wings are in motion, and the attitude is being reconfigured to point the engine in the correct direction, those solar array wings being pointed forward. You're getting a live look inside the Artemis 2 mission flight control room. The team you see here oversaw the ascent of our four astronauts inside Integrity, launching at 6:35 and 12 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. Now again, this room will be occupied 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with flight controllers shifting on 3 shifts to oversee 24/7 operations of Artemis 2 while in flight. We will cover that live on the NASA YouTube channel, and we'll be covering that around the clock as we begin to wrap up our coverage here on NASA Plus. Before I do want to send it over to our colleagues at the Kennedy Space Center. And to my colleagues, it was a pleasure to join the teams at the Kennedy Space Center and be a part of such a historic launch. Here in Houston, again, we're turning our attention to the mission. And for now, we'll say farewell and thank you to our colleagues there for today's launch coverage. We'll see you again soon for Splashdown. This is Mission Control Houston, sending it back over to Megan and Nicole at the host desk.
Thank you, Gary. And yes, it was such a pleasure to be a part of this historic mission that started right here at Kennedy Space Center. It was such an amazing sight to be a part of. And now, as Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen begin their journey, we here at the Kennedy Space Center are about to wrap our broadcasts. We'll, of course, though, have 24/7 coverage with our colleagues at Johnson Space Center starting as soon as we sign off, so don't worry. You can follow along our 4 astronauts every minute of their nearly 10-day journey to the moon and back. Nicole, I'll definitely be watching it, and I'm sure you will, too.
Yes, of course. You know, they just started, right? The launch was beautiful. This was a historic day. They're on their way back to the moon for the first time in over half a century, but they've got a lot of work ahead of them, and so we're excited to see what they have to do and excited to test out the Orion spacecraft. This is a test flight after all, and we're excited to see what we can learn from this mission.
Very humbling, inspiring. It was really amazing to be a part of this, and I'm so glad that so many people joined along by either watching here in person or watching online. And of course, Nicole, thank you so much for sitting through this, answering questions, adding so much context and information that really brought a lot out of what we saw today.
Oh man, I had a blast. You're a rock star. You're
Oh
a
my
professional.
gosh,
This was great.
you're great.
So this was a wonderful day.
Well, again, thank you so much, and thank you to you for watching at home. You know, tonight we didn't just launch a rocket, we launched the next chapter of human exploration. Our Artemis 2 crew now on their way back to the moon, and we're taking you with us. So thank you again for watching, and go Artemis 2. All 4 astronauts, and it appears all of them are undergoing their suit leak checks. Yes, a pre-flight tradition that we have seen with our crewed flights, the card game. The astronauts who have just left crew suit up and are now walking down a hallway. And here they are, NASA's Artemis 2 crew, taking their first steps outside for their historic test flight. And the 4 of them step into their astrovan. And off they go. Oh, this must feel so special to the crew to see all of these people here watching the crew walk across the crew access arm, getting a beautiful view. Everybody configured with their suits, so in we go. The closeout crew has closed the launch abort system hatch.
3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Oh, All right, this is Mission Control Houston. Welcome back for our 24/7 coverage of the Artemis 2 mission. At this time, we are a little more than 1 minute from the time of ignition of the perigee raise maneuver. At this time, the Orion spacecraft integrity has been maneuvered into the burn attitude, is pointed in the right direction, and the solar arrays are in the position to take on the loads imparted by the 26-second burn. Now at 1 minute to the perigee raise maneuver. The teams here are part of the ascent team of the Artemis 2 mission. Now getting our first views from one of the solar array wing cameras over the tracking and data relay satellites. We are in a night pass as we are about a little more than 1,300 statute miles above the Earth, just east off the coast of Madagascar. So we have, you can see the Terminator line right just west of the Philippines and the west coast of Australia, where we'll start to get some sunlight again. Now we're just seconds away from the time of ignition. We have ignition. You can see the perigee raise maneuver from the main engine of the ICPS firing from the solar array wing. Standing by for confirmation of cutoff.
Integrity good, PRM, and 1 minute to Teeter's handover.
Copy that. We see the Sable on board, and the sun is rising on Integrity.
Outstanding.
And with that, the first burn of the interim cryogenic propulsion system has been completed and put the crew on the right trajectory to get them to the moon.
Houston,
There are
Integrity for toilet setup, step 2.5.
Go ahead.
Yes, there was not an installed Oxon inlet filter, even with empty Oxone in the hose when I opened up the filter.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, we had a good perigee raise maneuver that sets us on course to execute the next major burn, the apogee raise burn. Now, the perigee raise maneuver just adjusts the orbit while we are in low Earth orbit, but the apogee raise burn is quite a significant burn, just shy of 18 minutes long.
Integrity Houston, on TDRS West, White Sands is receiving data. Houston is not. We're still troubleshooting.
That was Capcom Stan Love, part of the Ascent team here in Mission Control Houston. We changed over to point to one of the tracking and data relay satellites at the expected time. That time was updated to 51 minutes, 26 seconds of mission elapsed time, going from TDRS East to TDRS West. Upon switching to TDRS West, Mission Control Houston, not seeing some of the data coming from Orion, coming from Integrity. So we're standing by to regain the ability and troubleshoot some of the rationale as to why we are having some intermittent gaps in our data and communications with the crew. Now again, as the teams are troubleshooting.
Integrity Houston in the blind. We see good solar normal maneuver. ARB TIG is expected to be 45 seconds earlier than the pad. That's 1 hour, 46 minutes, 0 9er seconds. No update to TIGO yet.
That was Capcom Stan Love here in Mission Control Houston. He used the term "in the blind." That refers to as part of the data that we are not getting from the TDRS West satellite. Noting that we understand that we may not be receiving communications from the crew, though they may be able to hear us. So Stan Love reporting what status is known on our end. We do know that from the data we are receiving that the upper stage and Integrity have maneuvered to solar normal, meaning that the orientation, the attitude of the spacecraft is such that the solar rays can draw the maximum amount of power.
Integrity Houston in the blind for Christina. Just before the TDRS handover, we heard a report about the lack of an oxone inlet filter. We copy that there is not one installed as expected, but please put in a new one.
Team here you see in this row at the Capcom console is NASA astronaut Stan Love. The voice that you're hearing from the teams here in Mission Control Houston up to the crew of Integrity. A Capcom voice that you'll hear throughout the mission as well. Next to Dr. Love, to his right is Jackie Mahaffey, the Chief Training Officer for the Artemis II crew. And a voice that you'll hear from here in Mission Control Houston. Flight Director Judd Freeling is to Stan Love's left. The Ascent Flight Director and leading the teams through the ascent that happened today. And to the left of Judd Freeling is Flight Director Rick Henfling, part of the entry teams here on console to oversee the ascent portion. He'll be returning to console on flight day 9 to prepare for the splashdown on a nominal timeline for flight day 10.
Houston, in the blind, we're rebooting some ground equipment to try to recover the link. Expect 10 minutes.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, the teams here are troubleshooting the lack of a forward link, an ability to communicate with the crew aboard Orion. Teams are troubleshooting and planning to reset some ground equipment as the forward link was dropped at the time that we switched from TDRS East to TDRS West. That happened, that handover period started at mission elapsed time of 51 minutes, 26 seconds. Capcom Stan Love reporting some updates, what is called in the blind, meaning that though we...
Integrity Houston in the blind, expecting an imminent automated swap to string 2 on board. Also, reminder, we are still receiving good ICPS data.
Again, Capcom Stan Love reporting to the crew in the blind, meaning there may be an ability for the crew to hear the calls from the ground. We do know that we are not able to hear any of the crew calls coming from Orion. We did just confirm that we are receiving data from the upper stage, and that allows us to understand and confirm the attitude and orientation of both spacecraft, knowing that they are at solar normal. And with the reboot, we're starting to get some data here. We'll confirm that the data we are receiving is good. And with the regain of comm, we're starting to get some views aboard the Orion spacecraft.
Integrity Houston, voice check on TDRS.
Loud and clear, Stan Hallis.
And we now have you the same. Good to hear your voice.
And good to hear yours as well.
All right, we are still trying to understand whether the automated swap to S-band string 2 recovered comm for us or what was going on the ground. We gave you calls about an ARB TIG and an Oxone inlet filter. Did you copy them?
Copied all.
Excellent.
This is Mission Control Houston, though the solutions that were applied to regain the communications from Integrity is not known which one worked. We do know that we are receiving data. We're getting confirmation that is updating some of our telemetry that shows that the solar array wings have been reconfigured to the solar normal. Again, drawing as much power as possible. While Integrity is in flight and awaiting the next burn, the apogee raise burn. And you just heard confirmed, though Stan Love was reporting some things in the blind, meaning we could not hear the crew respond to any of the calls that were going on Orion to Earth. We did confirm from Reed Wiseman aboard Integrity that they did hear all of the calls that Capcom Stan Love was reporting.
And Integrity for comm, while we are sorting out the earlier comm loss, we plan to remain on S-band string 2.
Copy S-band string 2, and quid 19 has been inhibited for right CCD.
Copy quid 19.
This is Mission Control Houston. Commander Reed Wiseman working through his steps. At this time in the timeline, mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen should be closing out some of the procedures that were activating some of the environmental control and life support systems. And again, those steps relayed from Capcom Stan Lev were received by the crew, so they did copy them and address any of the feedback that was provided by Capcom Stan Love. The launch and entry suits for Mission Specialist 1 and 2, that's Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen, per the timeline, they are in the period of time to doff or take off the suits. The launch and entry suits for Commander Reed Wiseman and pilot Victor Glover will remain on until after a successful from the ICPS as well as the Orion spacecraft.
Integrity Houston, questions for Jeremy and for Christina.
Stan, can you power on the toilet, and then we'll stand by for your words for Jeremy and Christina.
Toilet power up is in work. The questions are, can you confirm the HHP cam has been powered down? And then the question for Christina is whether the urine filter, that's the rubber part, was installed, but just no beads connected.
And that's affirmative. The filter was installed, no beads.
Thank you.
And Stan, we are wrapping up PWD right now. Jeremy will get the HHP cameras after that. There was a tremendous amount of back pressure on all those settings, so it's taken a little bit of all the connectors, so it's taken a little bit of time.
Copy. Thank you.
Commander Reed Wiseman aware of the steps, the initial steps for mission specialists Christina Cook and Jeremy Hansen, working on some of the systems inside, while the commander and pilot monitor the flight of Integrity.
Integrity Houston, toilet is powered, waste tank purged.
We copy that, Stan. Thank you.
Some of the equipment inside needs to be activated by flight controllers here in Mission Control Houston. The activation of some of these necessary for their trip on their first day in orbit as part of the Artemis 2 mission. While Christina Cook addressed the waste systems that are on board now that they're activated and purged. Jeremy Hansen working on the potable water dispenser, rather. One of his initial steps is to activate the equipment and start filling some bags as a reserve. So he's working through those steps. The HHP camera is one of the internal cameras inside of integrity. HHP camera was one that was captured through the duration of ascent and recorded into the flight computers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I doubt it helps you at all, Stan. But that whole time that you all had, it seemed like you had a good forward link. We just had no return. We saw a good frame lock, and everything looked good. The only thing we did not have was a good ping. I don't know if that helps you.
That helps a lot, Reed. Thank you for that report.
Okay, Stan, we copy that. HHP cameras are off. Pub 1 switches are off, Stan.
Copy HHP. Up. Thank you.